Welcome back to the channel, to the podcast. However you're listening to this episode, another Players series. I have Elijah Taylor with me this time. He's former Warrior, Penrith Panther, West Tiger, Salford Red Devils, and a current Featherstone Rovers. Elijah, thank you for joining us. I know it's late over there. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Murray. Thank you for having me. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the podcast. I've seen it. It's a new podcast, seen it grow, man. I'm good to be on. I'm happy to be on.
Thanks for the love. Really appreciate it. I want to jump straight into the junior footy career. We like to talk about the players with this and help them sort of relate to some of the youngsters coming through that listen to the podcast and watch the channels and videos. What was your story growing up? I know you grew up in New Zealand, a rugby union mad country. Was it union at the start for you, and how was that transition to league?
Yes, I was all union growing up, coming through the grades. Back in New Zealand, rugby mad country, as you said. We weren't allowed to play tackle until about 11 years old, I think. It was all touch rugby until then. And then I played rugby union until I was 18 years old. 17, I played both for St. Paul's College. On Saturday morning, we played first 15, and Wednesday after school, we played rugby league first 13. So there were strong competitions in Auckland. But yeah, rugby league outside of Auckland is pretty small, and most games are played on Sundays. So I'm glad I went to St. Paul's College. It was one of the reasons why I went to St. Paul's College was to try and make it to the Warriors through there.
How was that rule then growing up when until like 11 years old you can only play touch instead of tackle? I guess it would probably help skills develop in terms of the attack wise. Obviously, defense would be a little bit in later on once you develop the tackling technique. Was that a different sort of experience for yourself to go through?
Yeah, it was normal because that's all I knew. But I remember used to be fuming because I wanted to play tackle. But all my older brothers that were under 13, under 14, they could play tackle. But you had to wait until you're past a certain age limit. I look back now and I think, oh, that's the reason why they want people to stay in the game and use their skill instead of just, physical, which I think is smart. And I think in New Zealand it helps younger, smaller players develop their skills without having to worry about the physical side or the physical element of, rugby. So I look back now and I know the reason why they do that. So I'm not sure if they still do it today, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But no, bro, I remember I used to get filthy because I wanted to play tackle, and we weren't allowed to play tackle until we were 10 years old, man. So, but no, they're good memories, man. That's where it all started.
You'd have to keep tackle footy in the backyard until you're 11 years old. So at least you had some brothers and that to play with. So that would have been great for you. For any young Kiwis players over in New Zealand, what's sort of your advice then to develop a league career over in New Zealand, where it's obviously a lot of basically union obsessed?
I think to the players, just try and make your first 15 team at your school, because first 15 is obviously huge there and rugby union. And then there'll be NRL scouts that watch first 15 games. Like every club's got a scout in New Zealand, every NRL club, but they look for the next talent. They're looking for obviously the next big thing. So if you can get yourself in a first 15 team of your school, you'll definitely be watched and you'll definitely be noted by NRL scouts because they watch every game. If not, then I think the school you have, they might be able to give you a manager. I'm not too sure how it works, but then that should be able to help you and landing you a trial at a league club or a preseason trial contract at one of the league clubs, because there's so many. Obviously, NRL is growing, and more and more Polynesian, New Zealand, Pacifica players are being picked up and engaged. So the opportunities are there. You just got to put yourself in that position.
Yeah, just quickly on that, and I'll just step away from your career. One question that's quickly popped up in my mind is there's all this talk about the growth of the NRL and expanding. There's been talk about New Zealand with potentially a second team or a full Polynesian team based around sort of the PNG area, things like that, and not far north Queensland. Is New Zealand ready for a second NRL team, you reckon?
I don't think so. I think it should go to maybe Perth. Just more viewers, a different time zone. Every other franchise or every other code is in Perth except for rugby league. They've got to start on us, and I think in a different time zone you get different eyes, more eyes on the game. Well, I think, say, if we had an NRL team in Wellington, I can't see Wellington out the stadium every home game. I can't see, maybe if there's a team in Christchurch, I can't see them, put out the game. Rugby league's not as big as in Australia, and I think money wise, I think it would be smarter to go to Perth or maybe PNG because obviously their talent over there is crazy, and it's their number one sport. Financially, I think there's some big companies that are interested, but I think my personal preference would be probably Perth or PNG.
Yeah, no, I think you're making a lot of sense there. Back on your own career, another one on the junior part of it. So, you obviously junior rep footy. Was there much of that involved for your career growing up once you made that step up to the league world around that sort of late teenage years? And then also talk to us about that transition into the Toyota Cup under 20 scene.
Yeah, so say the question again, sorry, bro. Sorry.
No, you're right. So your junior footy. So once you did establish a league career, was there much rep footy? I think you would have been probably about 18, maybe 17. You mentioned year 11, and then mentioned to us about
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
and then
So
also just a little bit about the
at St.
Toyota Cup.
Paul's, we
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So at St. Paul's, we were playing union. So a lot of us made the Auckland Rugby Union team as well, and a lot of us were in the development squad at the Warriors, and we had to make a decision. I think this is 2006, whether you're either going to stay with Auckland Rugby or you're going to go to the Warriors. And that was a big
wow.
decision for me personally because I grew up playing rugby and I loved rugby. My dad was like a hardcore rugby union fan, like hardcore. Yeah, he actually got upset when I went to league. But I chose league because of the pathway. And I knew that the Toyota Cup was coming and the opportunity to fly to Australia, play against the best talent against Australian clubs, curtain raise every NRL game, um, train with NRL teams on a Wednesday. Like that was an opportunity that was too good to pass up, and that was semi-professional as well. So you got paid, you got looked after at the Warriors. It was a great club. We got so spoiled. I look back now, we was get so spoiled back in 2008, and it was a no-brainer because you got to play on the biggest stages at the biggest stadiums, and you're only 17 years old. So you get to play at
Yeah.
Suncorp, you get to play at Amy Park in Melbourne, Ultra Stadium, and curtain raise before the NRL team, bro. So, and Ivan Cleary would always be watching you, obviously, because you're playing before his game. So it was stupid to turn down straight up.
You obviously, in your Toyota Cup career, started there, played with the Warriors. You became a leader. You became the captain. Led the side to the grand final win against the Bunnies, which would have been a special moment early on in your career. Um, is this a natural thing for you? This leadership role? Is it something that you were comfortable with?
Yeah, something I've been comfortable with from a young age. I can always remember, being able to lead a team from when I was young. Though I was so passionate about rugby, I love sport. I grew up in a rugby mad household. Um, I had four older brothers that were good rugby players as well, and they were always kind of pushing me to be better. And so I just kind of fit naturally to go into a leadership position. Uh, got the opportunity to do it at the Warriors with the under 20s team, and yeah, we had a bit of success there as young kids. Man, we had some crazy talent in the squad, and like just the raw talent of footy. And I know a lot of in our old clubs kind of envy the Warriors because the Warriors got such a big pool to choose from, and I think that's why they were so dominant um, back in those days because the best first 15 players wanted to come and play, like Conrad Harrell and Solomon Kata and Curtis Rona and that, because obviously the Warriors would be the opportunity to play in some big stadiums as well. And the games were on TV too. So, yeah, rugby union scouts could watch you on TV. Where if you played rugby union in Auckland, you wouldn't get a T game or you wouldn't get a platform. You just play at your local club until you might get selected from Auckland, you know. So, um, yeah, that's how it kind of unfolded, to be fair.
Yeah, as a league fan, I love the setup. I thought for the young players as well, it would have been great to be able to go through a season with sort of the NRL teams and feel part of it all. And it would have made a real club scene environment, and that would have been best for you guys to help develop as well. It probably would have been the ideal time to develop as a youngster, really, when you look back on it and how everything was set up. What stands out for that grand final win? I know you personally scored 2 tries in it, so you had a bit of one of those games, a bit of a wow game. Any special moments that stand out for that game?
I think just playing with Shawnee because he played a real good game as well, and he said I think all of our tries, and just seeing us young kids, a few St. Paul's players like Nafi Selawini and Dan Palavi, so like we came through St. Paul's together, and then we went to the Warriors together, and we all came through together as a team and as friends, which was pretty special as well. Um, I don't know. We all look down on the Warriors team compared to in our other NRL teams. For some reason, there's like a little chip on the shoulder when you're coming through. But to be able to have success in the highest competition of the under 20s was pretty cool, man. We were pretty lucky. I just can't believe how lucky we were in terms of how the Warriors used to look after us. I thought it was that same treatment at every club you go to, but
Yeah.
bro, that's not the case at all. We were so spoiled as kids, and but yeah, those will be the memories that stick out through the Toyota Cup campaign. And as you said before, bro, just rubbing shoulders with the first grade team, airports, hotels, captain run sessions, opposed sessions against them, and so it was a real club feel. And we're the reserve grade boys as well, the Vulcans, and
Yeah.
so whenever we would travel, all three teams would be filled up the airplane, and we'd all travel together. We would all stay at the same hotel together. Um, as a young kid, bro, and you're learning off like Simon. I think Ruben was still playing then. Steve Price was still playing then, and you're just taking it all in and learning off them as much as you can.
That would have been some trips I would have loved to be a part of. Imagine a plane full of footy players getting ready for a trip and the way back after. If all three grades had a victory, that would have been a fantastic plane trip. What about then I guess, what happened afterwards in terms of you debuting for first grade? There was everyone who watched the Toyota Cup campaign could see, and not to embarrass you, but you were definitely destined to reach that level. So it was just a matter of basically probably picking the right time for the coaching staff. How was that whole lead up into your first grade debut?
Oh, bro, it was a long time coming. I was supposed to debut in 2009 when I was 19, and I was so obviously amped for it. And then I did my hamstring in warm up of captain's run, and so I missed out on a debut by doing a hamstring. So I was devastated, to be honest, because I hadn't been injured 2 years prior. I played 2 years straight, no injuries, and then I get a on my debut. So that was frustrating, man. And then the next preseason, bro, I did my ACL in preseason, and so I missed the whole next year of no footy, and that was discouraging as well because I trained so hard through the preseason, and I never knew the gravity of an ACL. Obviously, because I was young, I was naive. I was just like, "Oh, what's ACL?" And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you're not playing this year," and I was just like, "Bro, it's January, and I'm not playing this year." So that was disappointing, but then the next year I finally got an opportunity to play against the Sharks in Taupo. Got a call from Ivan, and yeah, it was a tough game because we came up against the Sharks. They had Gallen, Jeremy Smith, Anthony Tupou, bro. They had Sam Takatizi. They had a huge four pack. Ben Cross. So yeah, man, that was a big challenge. That game, we lost 3 in a row as well. So we were under the pump as a club, and we managed to get the win that day. It was cool.
Yeah. The debut came off the bench. What was it like just sitting there and waiting for your time to come? That would have probably been the most nerve-wracking part of the whole week.
Yeah, man. I couldn't. Obviously, you can't sit still. You're waiting for them to pick up the interchange card. So you're waiting around like the 20-minute mark. You're like, oh yeah, I should be going on soon. You do so many sprints up and down the sideline. Like you do so many tackles on the tackle pads on the sideline for your opportunity. And then, yeah, when you finally get your card to go on the field, man, it's a crazy feeling. But the tough game was a really tough game, and obviously, playing against those forwards, those experienced forwards, was pretty special, and it was a bit of a baptism by fire because I was playing in the middle as well, so you had to kind of like stand up.
Yeah. I just want to quickly touch on a point you mentioned before about the injury and the fact that you did get a very serious injury early on. And I think it's a good thing for players and young players coming through to learn about is the sort of mind frame that to have, because it's probably easy to fall into that trap where you think your world's fallen down and you've basically lost everything for that brief moment in time until you start the rehab process and things like that. What's the best piece of advice you've got for players coming through that suffer some of these bigger injuries that are a longer term layoff?
Yeah, so if you ever done an ACL, to anybody that's watching, I highly recommend you get a patella graft and no other graft. Get your own patella so that they make a new ACL from your patella graft. So I've known a lot of players that done their ACL and their clubs tell them, oh, we've got new science, try the dead person's Achilles tendon and we'll make ACL out of that. Or try a dead person's ACL, we'll put it inside your ACL and see how that goes. But I've seen players' careers ruined with advice like that. Sam Hendry comes to mind. He did his ACL 3 times in a row because they were giving him the wrong surgeries. And when he got a patella graft surgery, his ACL's fine. And this is when Sam McKendry was at the height of his career, playing for Penrith. And he got some ACLs that were new science later, and but they blew out on the first game back. I felt so sorry for him, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you ever do an ACL, make sure you always get a patella graft for your ACL. A long injury, you got to have something going on off the field, eh? Like you've got to. Rugby league can't be everything. Even though a lot of young kids think it's everything, and I thought it was everything as well. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some dark days, especially a long layoff like ACL, a long syndesmosis, shoulder, recos. You definitely got to have something going on off the field just to help stimulate your mind, because there's going to be some dark days when you're in rehab by yourself. Everyone's flown to Australia and you're back in Auckland in the gym by yourself, bro. There's nobody around. You've got your rehab sheet and you're just ticking off boxes every single day. It kind of builds character though, like at a young age. I think I wouldn't say you've got to go through it. I remember thinking, man, I'm going to be so grateful when I'm playing again, or I'm going to be so much more grateful when I'm injury free and I can just go out there and play with the lads. because there's some dark times in rehab, and a lot of people that done their ACLs will completely agree with what I just said. Obviously, NRL do so much good work with the welfare officer, your physios. You've got your own physios as well, and they give a lot of support now. Where over in Super League, bro, there's not that kind of support from as at an NRL level kind of thing.
Yeah, like as you said, you never want to have that as you sort of early on to learn anything. But I've spoken to a couple of players now who had early injuries, and they've said one thing they've all sort of said to me is that it actually made them realize and be quite grateful for their career as well, and sort of what was set up for them, because they could see there how quickly it can be taken away from them. So it sort of made them in a way quickly go, let's make sure I'm doing this seriously and making sure my recovery process is spot on and I'm doing what I can to get back, because I don't want to be in this situation again. So it can definitely sort of help with them, as you said, the mindset sort of thing side of it as well. Yeah, first try. Let's talk about that. I guess round 6 against the Manly Sea Eagles. What do you remember from it?
So yeah, that was my third game of first grade. I remember Fletty Mateo, bro, great ball skills, crazy ball skills. Fletty Mateo, man. So he was a second row at the Warriors at the time. Oh, bro, like just crazy skills. So he was playing half, and I was his half. I was a second rower, and he skipped and did a backflip pass to me on the line, and then I managed to catch it and then score. But he'd done most of the work. But we lost that game. That was my first loss in NRL. So, yeah, it was a pretty cool moment because Dad was watching the game online as well. As well, I think it was his first game he got to watch. But yeah, playing at Brookvale Oval in the top game, and that's when the ground was still dodgy as, like, heaps muddy.
Horrible place to go.
Yeah, but bro, it was all learning experience. I thank Felitti obviously for setting me up with a try. We built an all good combination, me and him, when he was playing half. So such a skillful player, man. Crazy skill.
Yeah, he was a freak. It's a nice segue there into the fact that your first year also coincided with playing in the grand final. Unfortunately, it was a loss to a Manly side that was pretty ripped with talent that year. Talk us through that grand final week, firstly, and what's it like? Because I've heard things like you don't really train much in it at all, because by then everyone knows their roles. It's more about getting the body right, things like that. And there's obviously a lot of press involved and media work. And coming from New Zealand over to Australia to get ready for it, what's the week like?
Yes, I remember we handled the week really well. Everything was running perfect. We stayed at Coogee for the week. That was our home base. Whenever we went to Sydney, we went to Coogee Crown Plaza on the corner. So exciting, man. Like, we thought, because I was young, it was my first year, I thought we were always going to make the grand final. I thought we were always going to make semis, because you're naive when you're young, because you kind of come a bit easy, and you always thought it was going to be like this, and that wasn't to be. But it was so enjoyable, man. I remember thinking, because you got to do it with your under 20s mates as well, because you came through the system together, and now you're playing in an NRL grand final together. It was pretty surreal, and I think we got a lot of support, and a lot of people have got a soft spot for the Warriors. You know, they want the Warriors to win, especially against Man. So we got a lot of support that game. But bro, that was a Manly side that's been in form for 5 years straight. I remember the week being massive build up. I remember reading emails from the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I read an email from Richie McCaw that he sent to our team. Just everybody just sending good luck wishes, good luck messages. But that was pretty cool, man. And again, I was so naive. I thought every year was going to be like this because it was so easy. But bro, no way. Like, making the top 8 is an achievement in itself. But
I was going to say that. I was going to say earlier in your career, you made early grand finals, you're probably thinking, how good's rugby league? This is fantastic.
Oh man, and the way we did it too, it was just one after the other, and we all came through. It was, yeah, naive. That's the word I like to use because I thought it was just always going to be this easy, and I thought,
Yeah.
how good was this? Like, this is. Um, but you realise as you get on in your career, like how lucky we were to play in a grand final in your first year. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy luck, but yeah, good experience, good memories, fond memories, and memories I'll never forget.
Now, I want to talk about, obviously, I know the Warriors meant a lot to you, and obviously probably still has a nice special place in your heart, but there was a time there where you did end up deciding to leave and sign with the Penrith Panthers. And I just want to quickly give you a quote after a bit of research. Don't want to embarrass you too much, but this is from Phil Gould. He goes, you've been specifically targeted by the club not only for his elite footballing talent, but also based on his tremendous character and leadership qualities. Now, that's from one of the goats of rugby league, Phil Gould. Firstly, I want to ask, what's it like sitting down with Phil Gould and sorting out a contract, which I guess would be probably one of the most daunting experiences of your early footballing career?
Yeah, I remember Ivan was doing most of the contract talking. So I remember my first meeting with Gus is when just before I signed. So I already had the contract, um, but before I signed, I had a chat with Phil. Yeah, obviously when he says words like that, you're pretty you're pretty taken back a bit because he's so much knowledge of the game. Um, but man, like just the weeks he's like kind of inspires like the way he talks.
Yeah,
Like I remember he used to come and talk to us our Penrith team in a captain's run session or a halfway video, just come and speak to the team. And just the way he delivers a message, bro, it's something special. Like there's something the aura he has when he speaks. He commands the room.
yeah,
It's it's pretty crazy, man. And to meet him, finally meet him, and I've only known him for those Origin pre-game talks. You know, his the last the last word with Phil Gill, and that's what I've known him the most from. And to meet him finally was pretty surreal. He's a great bloke. Um, got a master footy mind, like knows the game inside out, and like he's a reason why Penrith are going the way they are going today because of all the foundations he put in um, to ensure that the Panthers would be successful in years, and look what has happened.
growing up, obviously the Warriors was always the team you wanted to play for and get your start, and that happened. Just how tough was it for you personally on ending up actually agreeing with Penrith and moving not just club, but you actually have to move country as well, which probably would have been the toughest part of it all?
Yeah, I was young, bro. I was really young and naive, and I thought like I was a bit arrogant in a way because the Warriors signed Todd Larry from the Storm, and they said he was going to be the starting 13 kind of thing, and I was coming off the bench. And as a young kid, you don't really want to hear that. You're young and ambitious, and you're thinking, "Oh man, I want to be starting every week." Um, and that was a reason why I went to Penrith. Ivan, the relationship I built with Ivan over my time at the Warriors, that was another reason why I liked to go to Penrith. And obviously, Penrith was my first proper contract. I was on an under 20s contract playing first grade at the Warriors.
Oh wow.
And so I was young, bro. I was ambitious. Yeah, and I was listening to a manager that I probably didn't have my best interests at his heart, what should I say? But yeah, bro, I was just influenced by him, and I was really keen to get out of Auckland as well and try something new. But in hindsight, man, I reckon I just should have stayed because I love the club. I love the lads. We grew up together. We came through together. But I made the decision, bro. Or, I was sober when I made the decision. I thought that the decision at the right time was the best for me. Obviously, meeting Gus and his plan for the future at Penrith, that was a good opportunity that I saw myself being able to be used in Penrith. So that's why I jumped at the opportunity, because it was a great opportunity. Um, I'll be playing second row, I'll be starting, and as a young kid, that's all you want to kind of hear, kind of thing.
I want to talk about you set a record when you're at the Penrith Panthers, and I'm not sure if you actually realised you did this or not, but you set a record for most tackles in a game. It was 77 tackles, round 5 against the Cowboys. So obviously a lot of defence for the team that day. Talk us through that game. That's incredible. 77 tackles. It's almost a tackle a minute.
Oh, bro. We had so many debutants that night playing, and we kept knocking the ball on tackle 1 or tackle 2 early in the tackle count. This is before 6 agains as well. This is before the 6 again rule, obviously. But I just remember we're always knocking the ball on from a scrum, or knocking the ball on a high ball, and we just had to defend again. We lost the game, and the Cowboys went on to be premiers. But yeah, I just remember us making so many mistakes coming out of yardage, and me and Sam McKendry were the forwards. You don't realize it until after the game, and then someone sends you a screenshot or something. But at the time, I didn't even notice it, because we were just defending so much that game, and nothing was going our way. So yeah, those are the memories from that game.
It's fast forward slightly into where you actually ended up moving, and that was the Penrith Panthers to the West Tigers. And I know that was a sort of a weird sort of little period in your career. I read some quotes and things like that about that time, and I think it was a change of coach, a change of scenery at Penrith was starting to happen, and they weren't on the same path as what originally was the plan moving forward. And they were sort of, I know there was James Fisher-Harris is coming through as well, so quite a talented player coming through the ranks. But you were told to sort of basically change the way, if I've got this right and read this right, you were told to change the way you play, and you'd been dropped basically. So how was that sort of towards the end of the stint at Penrith?
Yeah, it was a big shock to the system, man. So Ivan got fired randomly. So he gets Daily M Coach of the Year 2014. 2015, we get decimated with injuries, where the most injuries out of any NRL club. And then after that year, he gets fired, gets sacked. And I was just like, that's weird. And then as soon as he gets sacked, Anthony Griffin comes in, but Gus wanted to clean out all the people that Ivan's brought, and then I was the first on the list, obviously, and it kind of like wakes you up to the game. Yeah, that was last year at Penrith. I did my ACL 2014 through. That was kind of probably the first note that, oh, he's done his ACL again, so maybe he's not going to be as good as we thought. Yeah, and it just happened so quick too. That's how ruthless the NRL can be, bro. Like you could be the best, one of the best players.
Yeah.
But in saying that, bro, they had insane talent coming through. As you said, bro, James Fisher-Harris, Corey Harawira-Naida, Moses Leota, Campbell Gillard, Yowie, bro, Bryce Cartwright, crazy talent just waiting to play. And these guys were all like 18 there as well. Dylan Edwards was there, bro. They were just waiting for Jerome Luai. They were all waiting for an opportunity. And from the club's perspective, I can understand now they wanted to, bring those players through the system. But at the time, I was just like, "Fuck, this is weird." Like they welcomed me, and then now they're like, so they want me to go, bro. Like they actually want me to go and leave like as you can. So kind of open your eyes up towards rugby league, the managers and how coaches work. Yeah, it was a bit of an eye opener because obviously I was young, naive person at as a young age, all good. And then when you get older, bro, you start feeling pressure more, and then you start seeing things behind the scenes, what goes on at clubs, and you're just like, really? And then, yeah, bro, you get a lot more understanding from how the game really operates. It can be pretty dark, bro. Like there's a lot of skullduggeries that go on behind the scenes, man. A lot of people just see NRLs like, oh, bro, they'll be an awesome job, they'll be mad, bro, and like how players get treated, kind of thing. It's crazy, man.
I don't know how, when you put the human side onto that, it's just crazy. I know people talk about the business side of things for the game, but it's also the game side of it as well. And you all just want to be there and play footy, basically, is the way you all sort of want to think about it. And when the Tigers came knocking, talk us through that process. How does that actually happen? Is it just they go straight to your manager, or do they actually come talk to you first and sort of put out the feelers and say, would you be interested in coming to the club?
Yeah, man. So, kind of a blessing in disguise. Jason Taylor rings me. He was the Tigers coach at the time. A few Tigers boys ring me, and they kind of said like, I'm what's missing from the team in some respect. Like if I can bring what I can to the table, it'll help their team. And so that was an opportunity. I thought, yeah, man, I'm sick of playing reserve grade here at Penrith. I'll jump at this opportunity. So Justin Pascoe used to be the CEO at Penrith when I was the CEO. So I still had a relationship with him, and he helped get the deal over the line. Yeah, that was like a breath of fresh air, bro. So I was playing reserve grade. I started in reserve grade 2016, and I was thinking, bro, how am I playing reserve grade round one? Like they said, I was out of form, bro. But I was like, bro, it's round one. Who's out of form on round one? Like, and that's what Anthony Griffin used to say. And the old coaches cliches, heaps of them. But when the Tigers came, like they offered me the opportunity to play in the middle and then ball play as well, and that was something that, bro, I really wanted to do because I was sick of just making tackles all the time.
Yeah.
And credit to Jason Taylor, man, he backed me, he gave me a start, gave me an opportunity, bro, and I'm so grateful for JT, man. Yeah, he's one of the best coaches I've had, in my opinion. That's coming from me, but he gave me so much freedom, gave me so much confidence, like, and I got there with. They had young halves at the time. They had Brooksy, Mitchell Moses, and Teddy was at fullback as well.
Wow.
And those guys, bro, they were so confident. I remember meeting Mitchell Moses, bro. He was so confident, bro. He's the most confident person I've ever met. It's crazy. Like you really believe that he can do anything. That's how confident he was, and it kind of rubbed off on me as well. I'm there, because yeah, it was the opportunity I needed, bro. And it was a good step for myself and my development as a player. And I've got some good memories at the Tigers, some really good memories. Yeah, just unfortunate that we weren't able to do something because we trained so hard at club. We but especially under Malcolm Maguire, like surely we came so close to making the top 8 one year, but it wasn't to be.
You mentioned Jason Taylor. I want to talk about another coach that, looking back on your career so far and how it's been, there's been another coach that seems to have played quite a big part in your career and has almost been at every club you've been at the same time. That's Ivan Cleary. What sort of a coach is Ivan Cleary, and just sort of the role he's played in your career so far?
Bro, he's the most chilled coach I've ever had. Like, just so chilled. And I don't know, it might be my character, bro, but that's what I need as a coach. Like, personally, I don't want a military coach, bro. I don't want you freaking, bro. That don't work for me. That's what I've noticed. JT was similar to Ivan. Like, they're from the same era. They were chilled about a lot of things. But you know, you cop it if you're playing bad. But yeah, one thing about Ivan, bro, is he accepts you who you are. Like, he'll never tell you, I need you to be like this player, or he'll never tell you, I need you to get the stats what Sam Burgess is getting. I need you to get those meters. He'll never do that. He'll accept you for what you bring to the table and add you to his team, bro. Like, that's what I liked about Ivan, bro. He accepted you for who you are. Where other coaches, they'll be like, oh mate, look, you need to be like this player. Or mate, look, you need to be like this player. Or you need to get his stats. You need to be up there with his stuff. And like, Ivan would never do that. I don't know if he's changed that now, but that's what I liked about Ivan, bro. He accepted you for who you are. I've got a lot of time for him, man. He obviously he changed my life, kind of thing, giving me a debut opportunity. And oh, bro, I always respect him. And it's just so good to see Penrith go so well under him, because he's always good. But I think, you know, with the squad he's got now, and with Nathan leading the ship, bro, credit to him, bro, because he's been through a lot. And to come back through the other side at Penrith is a testament to his character, bro. Because when he got fired from Penrith the first time, like, I was just like, bro, what?
That was nuts.
How did this happen? Like, how did we get here? Because there's the Dally M coach 2014. He gets sacked the next year. It's just like, what the heck?
That's politics
yeah,
for
bro,
you.
politics in rugby league. Crazy,
Nuts.
bro.
In the Tigers' career, 2020, they released a co-captains which existed of 5 players. Now, I know this probably happens in the past, but I think it was the first time the media really got hold of it, and it was blown up to be a massive deal. Why do the club have 5 captains? Blah blah blah. It's, looking back on it, it really is just the leadership group. So, how was that experience to be part of that sort of to be part of the Tigers? You've been there for a couple of years now, and then to be part of like a co-captaincy group. Where was it confusing at times to know where you stood with it, or was all the captains sort of on the same wavelength?
I was never a big talker, bro. I've never been a big talker or have the mean speech to get the boys up for a game. I would only do like influence and actions. I would lead by my influence and lead by my actions. So you had players like Russell and Ben, Russell and Bags and Rowdy, Chrissy Lawrence. Bro, they'll do all the talking. Like, sweet. Like, I wasn't that kind of captain. I've never been that kind of talk kind of captain. I've just been go about by influence and actions. And bro, that was easy as, because obviously, you know, Benji's so experienced, Christy Lawrence is so experienced, and yeah, they pretty much did most. Um, and Russell, yeah, and Russell's a really good communicator as well. They pretty much did most of the work. I was just made sure I could lead by my influence and by my actions, and yeah, it was a good experience because we came so close that year. I think in previous years we would have made the top 8, but the competition was so tight. We came ninth. But yeah, there was a chance gone begging because I thought we had a really good team. We defensively we were sound. and we kind of just fell off at the last hurdle there.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, and
I want
Robbie
to talk
Farah
about.
came back as well.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
you had the
Karen,
boy
Karen.
band back. Benji and Robbie were back as well. So there was a couple of years there. The Tigers were, as you said, they were so close to the eight. They actually had some really good teams there, and it wasn't just the attacking football as well. And it was just an all-round good mix. It was just unfortunate that there was that dreaded ninth spot there for a couple of years. But I want to talk about your international career. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. Um, Talk us through initially what it's like touring, and then because I know you had a couple of tours in that New Zealand squad, and then what it's like playing at the World Cup. No doubt you've probably got a few stories about the touring squads and what happens up there.
Oh yeah, man. Like again, my first year as well, we made the Kiwis team as well, and then naive again. I was like, oh, bro, I'm always gonna make it like this now. Like, I'm 22 because I kind of took it for granted. Actually, I did take tours for granted, man. Um, just hanging out in the Kiwi environment, I took that for granted because I thought it was always going to happen. Kind of a bit arrogant and cocky from myself, thinking that was my mindset. Like I'm always going to make it. But yeah, a few injuries later, and you'll fall down the pecking order, and it's so hard to make the team again. I took my first tour for granted. It was a great tour. We came to London. We played at Wembley. I made my debut at Wembley. Um, Played against the Australians. Played against the English here. Great experience. Um, yeah, met Benji Marshall properly for the first time in my life. That was crazy. Just meeting all your childhood heroes. You watch them at the last World Cup, and just to be able to like chop it up and break some bread and just have a laugh with them. That was crazy. I remember I was fanboy moments. Honestly, I was just like, bro, this is so cool. Um, and again, that just made me naive because I only had two more tours after that. So I made three tours with the Kiwis, and that's all I did. And that's pretty disappointing, man, because um, yeah, the tour is trying to make the team because the team got so what do you say? They got so much depth now in the Kiwi squad, bro. It's so hard to make the team. But back in the days, there wasn't as much depth as there is now. Um, so it's good for New Zealand Rugby League, and it's good for the competition and the team to try and make the squad. But it's something that I took for granted, definitely.
You talk about that, and the game's definitely growing on an international side of things, but I feel like the game as a whole still is holding itself back when it comes to the international game, which is a bit of a shame. Do you have any advice out there for your way of thinking about growing this game? Because we've got the island nations like Samoa, Tonga, Fiji. They're getting so strong. If anything, it might be the English that have fallen down a little bit because of these island nations are getting so much stronger. What's your way of thinking around getting this game to really be the peak of its power and the main piece of this the game we love?
Yeah, man. So in the previous World Cup, I really wanted England to win because the game over here is struggling so bad, especially to COVID. So everybody thinks back in Australia that oh yeah, Super Leagues they're running their own competition, like it's a strong competition. There's heaps of juniors coming through, but it's not the case over here. Like there's no Harold Mats, there's no SG Ball, there's no reserve grade comp, there's no under 20s comp, there's no elite competition for rugby league to develop over here, and that's why I wanted England to win the World Cup because it would strengthen the game over here. Because obviously they're fighting against rugby union here, and they're fighting against obviously soccer, which they're never going to win against soccer. But if you're comparing rugby league to rugby union here, bro, rugby league is so small,
Yeah.
um, and can't see it. I can't see it getting any bigger than what it is now because there's no development systems to bring kids through. And if you're a really good under 16 kid here, rugby union is going to come and snap you up quick and just give you a contract which Super League cannot pay. Like the average wage of a Super League player, I think, is 27,000. I think pound. I think that's the average. At Salford, I had one of my teammates, bro. He was getting £10,000 for the year, and he was training full time. And I was just like, what, bro? No way. And I was oblivious to this. But a lot of the young kids over here, like a lot of them are just training professionally and just doing it for like nothing. And it's just so, it kind of does my head in, bro, because then I realized back in the NRL was so lucky because there's reserve grades, there's under 20s, you got the RLPA that's always got your best interest. Like there's no RLPA here. So
yeah,
I'll tell you this, last year, Super League, we played 7 games in 2 weeks. Bro, 7 games in 2 weeks. That is crazy.
Soccer doesn't even do that over there.
That is absolutely crazy. Bro, it's because the clubs needed the money. They need the gates. Yeah. They need the... So that's why there's so much more games squished into one. And just, like, I could go on forever on how the levels of NRL compared to Super League have happened, because the gap is getting, the competition gap is massive, and then that's for the future of England Rugby League. That's concerning, because your next superstars, if they are superstars, they'll go to an NRL club. They won't stay here.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of yeah, bro. Like, this is my opinion, but this is like rugby league's in a bad spot here in England, because it's fighting against rugby union and soccer, and it's just not going to survive, like, with the talent pool that's currently in the NRL with Samoa, Tonga, Australia, even Fiji, bro. Fiji nearly bit freaking the Kiwis in the quarters.
Yeah.
So if I had to try and change it, I think over here, Super League, we've got to get rid of the quota spots. We've got to try and entice NRL players to come and play, because most NRL players coming now at the end of their careers, where earlier NRL players would come sometimes in their prime and come over here and play.
Yeah.
But as an NRL player, why would you come over here? The pay's not as good. You get no RPA. You get no saving, a retirement account into your RL, 13,000 a year. Like, there's not much to attract you to come here to play Super League anymore. The NRL salary cap's gone so much higher compared to Super League. Super League's TV deal, bro, got slashed by 3/4. Their Sky TV deal got slashed by 3/4, bro. Like, yeah, that's concerning. That's crazy. But obviously, you don't hear about this stuff in the news. But
yeah,
there's got to be some big changes here at the Super League. So IMG is coming in to take over the whole competition next year. So it's going to be interesting what they bring to the table, because honestly, bro, in 10 years' time, I can't see this game being professional. Like, that's kind of the way I'm thinking, bro. Because there's no pathways for younger kids.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad to see, man.
And in a way, I feel like the more the NRL grows as well and brings on new teams, it actually has a sliding effect onto the Super League, because a lot of those fringe players that would go over to Super League for a chance to play first grade footy have to do that now with these growing teams like the Dolphins. And then if the next 18th team comes out, there's more and more pathways now to stay in rugby league and stay in these pathways in Australia than to go over to England and actually play. And as you said, there was players who would often go there for a year or two in the middle of their careers to sort of get better with some of their talent and expand their game a bit more, but they can do that now, basically just staying in Australia. It's sort of definitely concerning to hear that the game is where it is. You ended up leaving to go there in 2020. You got your release from the Tigers and you signed with Salford. What was that little period like? Was that a personal opinion for yourself to experience the England culture, the England game?
Yeah, bro. So I was supposed to retire at the end of 2020. In my mind, I was like, bro, I'm done. Like, I'm actually done because I just had 2 years of Michael Maguire, and like the way he trains, bro, he's got a reputation of hard trainings and that. And mentally, I was cooked. I was like, bro, I'm sick of this. I'm ready to die. But I punched out my pilot's license so I could go and fly straight after that season.
That's it.
But then COVID came, bro, and then COVID happened, and then COVID, all the airlines stopped hiring. COVID came in, all the restrictions happened, and then I was like, oh, well, I can't get a flying job. And so then Salford popped up. I think we were early January, so the season was had already started for most NRL clubs. And I tried to go to the Warriors, and they were like, no, we're not keen. I tried to go to Melbourne as well, I think, on a train and trial. And they were like, I thought I could go to Melbourne because, they always give an older chance again. But they said no as well. And I was like, oh, well, that's strange. And then Salford came up to go to UK. Yeah, it was an opportunity. I looked at it as some lawyer fees that I needed to pay off as well. So I'd just been through court with my lawyer and I needed to pay off my lawyer fees. And that's another reason why I came to Salford. But I'm glad I came. Like, I'm so glad I came because just the opportunity to play in this competition, the opportunity to see the world on this side. And yeah, I was really grateful at the time. I was so grateful for that opportunity and play with some pretty fast players over here. It was a great experience, bro. It's been a great experience. And so where I'm at now, Featherston, we're trying to get up to Super League. So this is my first year at Featherston, and they've recruited me to try to help the team get up to Super League. And we're going well this season. We're halfway through. We're 8 points clear at the top.
That's an understatement.
Sean Long's our coach. Yeah. Sean Long's our coach. Leon Price is our assistant coach. They're great. They're legends of the game over here for rugby league. And that's what I like about former players that are coaches, because they understand what a player goes through.
Yeah.
They understand what the pressures of your body, the pressures of footy, the pressures of everything. And just to play under them, man, they're so chilled as well. And another thing about Super League, bro, they think about rugby league totally different than Australians. So this is another thing that opened my eyes, that we're NRL, bro, it's knock out your sets, kick to the corner, build pressure. Build your sets, complete sets, kick corner, defend. Kick corner, defend. Where over here in Super League, bro, it's attack. Like, let's shift tackle 1 from our corner. Let's shift tackle 3 from side to side and then play back all the way back to the other side. Like, there's so much more freedom in the game over here. And it's something that I struggled with because I'm used to, like, it's drilled into your head, like, complete. Like, don't earn the right to play. You got to earn the right to pass the ball. You got to break down the front door first. That's the NRL mentality. But that's not the mentality here. So it was kind of cool. It was a breath of fresh air, bro. The way I thought about league was a lot different than what they think about league here. After coming from under Michael Maguire, where it's like this set, get to that post, play this play, kick. Like, it's everything's, you must do this, all right? But in Super League, bro, it's just like run across the field, short ball, tip on, could play the ball, play off the back of that, go across the field, offload. Like, it's just, it was so refreshing, bro. It's so refreshing to play like this because it's so much more free.
You probably feel like, as you mentioned, 2020, you basically were done. You wanted to keep the game up, and now you probably feel like, I could probably go another year or two, just because it's that release of everything in a different coaching style, a different way you play. It just sort of freshens everything up for you.
Right. Honestly, and there's no pressure here. There's no media scrutiny, and that makes such a difference mentally. So like, you could play a bad game and not really worry about it because it's not going to be on TV highlights or it's not going to be covered as it is in the NRL, bro. Like you're not going to be on NRL 360, like getting talked about. I think that's why a lot of players come over here, especially the halves, like Brody Croft, Randy Chase. Who else came here? The half for Newcastle? Because it's Salford. You got Man of Steel. They all get Man. Hastings.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. It's completely.
I think Hastings. Yeah. So they come over here, bro. There's no pressure. There's no, our halves are always under pressure at their club.
Yeah.
Bro, when they come over here, bro, they play the football of their life, bro, because there's no pressure. Like Brody Croft last year, bro. Wow, he got Man of Steel last year, bro. Untouchable. Actually, untouchable. When Randy Chase came here, crazy, untouchable. Jackson Hastings came here, killed it. Tuilola here, bro, come over here, killed it. I think because there's no pressure on their shoulders as a half in the NRL, they can just be free and just play. That's a bit of evidence that shows you that the pressure of the NRL has an effect on a player's performance. Because when they come over here, man, and there's no pressure, and they can play free, which is always a breath of fresh. Because all I've known in Australia is kick corners, defend, kick corners, defend. Wait for them to make a mistake. When they make a mistake, then you attack, kind of thing. And that's the way they think about, obviously, an NRL, but it's totally different here.
Yeah, look, I want to get on to a couple of rapid-fire questions and let you go. The most enjoyable player you've played with in your career that's still going?
Enjoyable player I've played with is still going in my career. Bro, he just retired last year, bro. Tommy Luluai. It's got to be Tommy Luluai. Because, bro, he was always laughing. He's like the joker of the team. But he's tough. He can whack in defense, man. Like he can actually put a shot on. For someone that shot to buckle props and buckle. Like, I've got so much respect for Tommy. I had him at the Warriors. I had him at my first Kiwis tour. He was my roomie. First Kiwis tour. So it'll be Tommy Luluai for sure.
What about the most talented player you've played with? And I tell you what, you've got a hard bunch of players to pick from because you've played with some talent.
Is that talented on the football field or talented everywhere?
Like, you can take this wherever you want, bro. You can have 2, 3 if you want.
Bro, it'd have to be the most talented. Would probably be Benji, bro.
Yeah.
Like he could play golf. He can play the guitar. He can sing. Bro, he's one of those Maldies that can do everything.
Just good at everything he touches.
He's even play golf, bro. Bro, he's good at everything. It's unfair. He's good at everything, bro.
So what you're saying is Tigers fans should be happy because when he's the head coach, they'll win the comp because he's just good at everything. He'll coach into a premiership for sure.
Oh, bro, I hope so because, bro, he loves the game and he's smart. He's really smart. So I hope they go well. I hope they go this year. It's good to see them get a couple wins. But, bro, he's like he's one of those. So back home, there's Maldies that are good at everything, and he's one of those Maldies that are good at everything. Like can dance, can sing, can do bombs. It's just, bro, yeah, he'll be the most talented by far.
In a way, you kind of hate those people. I've got a few of those mates that are just good at everything they do. You just like, seriously, give me some of your talent,
Right,
please.
man. It's mad.
Most annoying player you've played with. And you can take this wherever you want.
Annoying. Most annoying player I've played with. Fuck. Oh, sorry. Annoying. I don't know. I have to come back to that one. I have to think of that one. Yeah,
No, that's right. I'll give you an example. I had Ryan Morgan on last week. He said Philly because he kept playing pranks, stealing people's thongs and things like that, and just said he was a serial pest. So there's one to give to you, and that's an example. So it could be a dressing room. It could be just someone who you hated going on away trips with, that you kept rooming with.
Yeah. Ooh. It might be James Seguiara, I reckon. He wasn't annoying, but he was funny. He's like gets under the skin of everyone, and he's like got a cackle laugh as well.
Yeah.
James Seguiara will take that for sure.
He
He's the
made
life of the party. He's always smiling, always happy, always putting people on the gronk. He's witty with his comebacks. He's quick with his comebacks. It'll be James Seguiara. Yeah.
he may get the last award as well, and that's the funniest player you've played with.
Funniest player I played with, bro. BJ Leilua, by far, takes the bro. BJ, he's one of those players that will say what he's thinking, like no filter. So, bro, him and in the video session, they used to argue in front of all the boys. And all the boys used to just sit there and just like imagine be getting furious, and BJ was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like he would speak his mind, bro. He's one of those people that like, yeah, no filter, but he's saying what everyone's thinking, but we're too afraid to say it. But he's actually saying it, and he doesn't care. And it was so funny. Like it was so funny, bro. Bro, him and Madge used to always argue, and we used to just, I used to just crack up and watch because it was so funny, bro. I found it so funny. I know some other players didn't find it funny, but bro, I couldn't stop. I was laughing so much I started crying, like, because him and Madge used to always argue, and Madge signed him, and I was just like, in my mind, I was like, bro, you signed him, and now you're arguing with him in front of everyone.
That's fair. Imagine that.
Oh, bro, I could, yeah, it was so funny. Oh, bro, and like usually Madge, like, you know, and like to the point, and just like, I don't care what you think. I'm gonna say what I think. Oh, bro, it was so funny, bro. It was so funny.
Lastly, I just want to touch current life. I know you're currently at the Featherstone Rovers, and you mentioned them earlier, but they are absolutely flying this year, and I know you've probably got a lot to do with that. Undefeated, top of the comp. Some of the records that you guys have at the moment, you've got 568 points for, 124 against. Your points differential is plus 444. That is ridiculous. And 13 from 13. So obviously enjoying life at the moment.
Yeah, man, it kind of speaks volumes to the competition we're in, though. Like, that's a man, and like Sean Long, Leon Price, they've changed their club culture. We've got a great culture out there in Featherstone. Like, we're all grafters, we all work hard, and the hard work is showing, like on where we are on the table. But I think we come back to England league, the depth. You know, some teams we play, for it to be the second level down from Super League is, bro, it's like the standard is kind of poor sometimes, man. Like some teams we play, sometimes it's just not nowhere near the standard of where the reserve grade needs to be. That's why I think there needs to be a reserve grade competition over here. There's no reserve grade competition. So championships the next level down, and the level of competition isn't that great. So yeah, we are going good as a team. Like we've got some good structures. Our defensive mentality is great. We're going well, but in terms of should be, because again, that's the depth that the game is strong. COVID, it hasn't come back from COVID, and that's kind of concerning at the same time, bro. Like, because I'm passionate about rugby league. I like the game. I wanted to see it grow and thrive and where it should be. But yeah, the level of competition in terms of where the competition should be and where like NRL reserve grade game, like those are tough. Or NRL under 20s game, those used to be tough. But yeah, the competition is slightly below the standard of where it needs to be. So hopefully things change, but we're enjoying it, man. We're winning. We're training hard. We've got good coaches, and so we just got to keep the momentum going towards the end of the year.
No doubt we'll be seeing them at the Super League next year. I don't want to jinx it, but the footy's fantastic. The style and brand of footy you guys are playing is unreal. I'm going to let you go because I know it's very late over there. You need to get us some sleep. Got some training tomorrow, no doubt. I really appreciate you jumping on. Look, put a word into BJ Leilua. I reckon after the stories you've got of him, I need to get him on. I reckon he'll be a cracking yarn as well. And
Bro,
down the track,
get him on, bro. Get him on.
Down the track, I'm going to get you on again as well because I reckon
He's
you've got some more cracking stories to tell as well that we haven't been able to get to. But Elijah, thank you very much. Good luck for the rest of the season with Featherston. And as I said, I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon.
All right, man. Cheers. Thanks for having me.